Is protecting someone from a harsh reality always the right thing to do? Because eventually reality catches up to everyone. And what if we aren't preparing that someone for that harsh reality? Honestly, I'm not really into children being victims in stories or TV shows or comics or movies because those are sensitive topics and I could be a sensitive person. But in the Telltale series The Walking Dead Season 2, Sarah is very unfortunate. And sad death shows us what it looks like when someone isn't prepared for the cruel reality that roams the world. But before I get into it, for the people who haven't played The Walking Dead Season 2 specifically, it takes place in a world destroyed by a zombie apocalypse where survival depends on adaptability, emotional strength, and the ability to make impossible decisions. Children in this kind of world are forced to grow up fast. They have to survive. But Sarah never really got that chance, and I find that tragic. But before I get into why I do, Sarah starts off being sheltered. This makes her feel anxious at any difficult thing that presents itself. She's also emotionally fragile, so when there was any level of aggression towards her, she would instantly become helpless. And ultimately this made her unprepared for survival. But to understand Sarah, we have to understand our father, Carlos, which is the doctor of the group. Carlos helps Clementine when she initially stumbles upon the group in Season 2 after they find out that she was bit by a dog instead of a walker. Carlos is a loving father towards Sarah. He wasn't evil or abusive, he was terrified, like any parent would be. He wanted to keep Sarah's innocence for as long as possible.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but there are a few things you need to know about my daughter.
Okay.
She isn't like you. You may not get that initially, but once you're around her for a while, you'll understand. If she knew how bad the world is, what it's really like out there, she would cease to function. She's my little girl. She's all I have left, and I would ask that you stay away from her.
Any decent parent would do this to an extent, but in a world like The Walking Dead, that luxury is gone, and that's why it's tragic. Because in a normal world, Carlos, the type of father he was, would be fine and arguably productive. Not in my opinion, but most of the world would agree so. And we see while Clementine is growing up fast, learning how to survive, carrying that entire group of grown people, by the way, if you played it, Sarah just seems stuck in the world previous to the apocalypse. And because of this, players tend to dismiss her. People called her annoying or dead weight, but it wasn't even Sarah's problem. It wasn't her fault. She's the result of someone else's decisions. And this is also why it feels so tragic and heartbreaking to me, because Carlos' mistake, his mistake was protecting her from reality instead of preparing her for reality. Carlos didn't teach her survival. Carlos was a doctor. Didn't even teach her how to patch herself up. At least I don't think he did. He made her dependent emotionally and sometimes even physically. So when Carlos dies, sadly,
Dad!
Sarah loses emotional structure, guidance, safety, and she begins to mentally collapse, making it harder for her and everyone around her to survive. She became vulnerable to walkers and the weight of the world. It collapsed on her.
Sarah, hang on!
Fuck, hurry! I can't hold on!
Help me!
Clem! Come on!
Help! Take my hand! No! No! No!
I remember from watching some playthroughs that some people were relieved or indifferent towards her death, but I just found it so tragic and sad because, as I said before, Sarah was stuck in a world that didn't exist anymore, right? I remember when we first started playing and seeing her, she wanted to be friends with Clementine. She wanted to take pictures. She felt like since there was someone around her age that, she had to be friends with him. She didn't really understand what was really going on. And it's not even her fault, as I've said before. It's her father's.
Will you show me how to use it? I couldn't find any bullets. If something's wrong, I should know. What if I have to use one? I thought it'd be heavier. Okay. What do I do?
The most important thing is, always aim for the head.
Okay.
Unless it's a person trying to hurt you,
Then what do I do?
just keep shooting.
And Sometimes I even feel that there was missed potential there. I think Sarah had so much potential, but was just raised in an apocalypse incorrectly. Sarah could have been right there with Clem, right? And survivability and then capability. She could have been just as competent over time. But her father, as I said before, Carlos, didn't want that. He just wanted to keep her innocent. As we saw in season 1, that Lee understood the pressures and the reality of the world. He did a good job, right? But Carlos, sometimes I just wish that Sarah had the same opportunity. But maybe this was intentional for the writing of season 2. Maybe it was intentional to show us what it looks like when a child, or maybe it was a what if Lee wasn't there for Clem, right? What if Lee was a terrible figure towards Clem and didn't tell her the right things in an apocalypse? Maybe Sarah represented the failure of it, right? So maybe that was intentional. And that's the thing, Sarah wasn't weak. She wasn't annoying to me personally. She was just never prepared for the world she lived in. And the person that is responsible for that is Carlos, her father. And what this means, right, is that as parents out there, right, I'm not a parent, I'm only 22, but as parents out there, you want to love and protect your child the best way you can. But sometimes fear can change what protection looks like. Like Carlos, some parents become so afraid of their children experiencing pain, failure, or harsh realities that they end up shielding them from the very things they need to learn in order to survive on their own. Overprotection can create emotional dependence. Instead of preparing a child for discomfort, struggle, and responsibility, it can unintentionally keep them stagnant, waiting for structure, guidance, and safety that won't always be there. And like I said, I'm not a parent myself, but being the child of one makes me realize something important. Love can be harmful when it prioritizes comfort over preparation, because even in our world, eventually everyone reaches a moment where comfort disappears and they're forced to face reality.